Okay, so session 6, Dead Among the Depths. And when we last left our motley collection of kindred, they had entered the sort of border between the Castello and the Cannaregio districts of Venice. This was after they had come across a member of another coterie known as the tourists, who were mostly sort of foreign kindred who have travelled to Venice for various different reasons, and they came across a young member of the Bruges clan called Valerie Reyes, and she was quite sort of badly beaten up and burned. She told them a tale of how, as the tourists were wont to do, and indeed they've been joined by some of our kindred heroes on previous occasions, they'd gone out partying, sampling a little bit of blood off people, nothing too serious. However, it seems people or parties unknown had somehow drugged the blood or the vessels that they were feeding on, and then when they'd gone to book a water taxi, one of the standard methods of travel throughout the canals of Venice, they had been set up on by these unknown people who, thanks to the sort of slowing down effects of the drugs that were running through the tourists' systems, these people were able to basically beat them into a pulp, pretty much. Valerie Reyes fell over the side of the water taxi into the water, and that's the only reason she escaped during the fracas. Eventually, enough of the drug effects had worn off, and she'd recovered enough of her strength to pull herself out of the canal, at which point she made her way towards the communal haven of our collected group of kindred, of the coterie in question, to see if she could get their help. After discovering this, they originally attempted to call the leader of the tourist coterie, well, I say call, text, to say they'd found Valerie. They got a very curt message saying, "I'll just bring her back to our haven." At which point Valerie revealed that apparently the leader of her coterie had been taken by these unknown assailants, and they realised it must be a trap. But eventually they made their way there, they did a little bit of scouting around, and they found a human clad all in black fatigues, wielding a gun, rifling through the building. They also spotted that there were some people in a building opposite, and to certain eyes only, what appeared to be an almost sort of golden stream of almost sunlight blazing out through the cracks of a door on an apartment opposite. They were deciding what to do. They interrogated, using the powers of their blood, this assailant, this man with a gun, and found out he worked for someone called Father Angelo, and he referred to demons that they had captured, obviously meaning kindred. They went into the alleyway round the back of the property when they were debating what to do, when they heard the loud, imperious voice from the street they had previously been in, of presumably this priest referring to them as demons and calling them to come out and face the judgment of the Lord. And that is pretty much where we're going to pick up this time, guys. So what I've done is I have drawn a very simple map here, which hopefully you can all now see. Obviously you guys are on there. The building outlined in yellow is the tourists' haven. I've also outlined the sort of street layout outside in blue, just to make it a little bit clearer. So you obviously got the main street sort of coming down here. There's a little alleyway down the side here, and this is round the back of the property where you guys are now sort of located. Obviously there's actually the main street sort of down here, and there's various canal boats and such like down there. You can hear the voice of the priest coming from where this red figure is located. Now this isn't a tactical combat map by any means, it's just to establish relative positioning, and as we were saying just before we started, it may not even be necessary depending on what you guys do, but I just wanted to give you a sort of rough idea of how things are sort of set at the minute. Although if any of you have got any questions at any point, or there's any confusion about what things are, where they are, obviously just shout up. So we're going to pick up this priest has shouted, "Come out, demons, and face the judgment of the Lord." And we literally pick up straight after we left off with the echoing, imperious tones of Father Angelo sort of fading into the night of Venice, challenging these devils, these demons, to come out and face the Lord's wrath. Currently, you are all in the back street behind the tourist's haven, so having gone out the back door. Oh, straight away over to you guys. What do you do?
How tall are these buildings?
They're pretty tall because, as we said, with space being at a premium in Venice, they tend to build upwards rather than outwards.
Mhm.
So most buildings are pretty tall, and some of them, especially some of the older ones, the more sort of like wooden or sort of slightly older stone buildings, seem to have a bit of a lean to them, which is no doubt exaggerated by subsidence and things like that in Venice. So the city as a whole sort of gives the impression of that this rickety ensemble of new and old buildings, all sort of like leaning on each other. Most buildings are sort of 3, 4, 5 stories tall.
Well, at best, they've seen two people go into the building or around the back of the building. I doubt they'd be aware of either Hugo or Franco. So I'm going to assume it's me and Aurelio they're after. So Aurelio needs to hang back, as does Hugo and Franco. And I'll go and stick my head round the corner to see what's going on. So I'm going to be as quiet as possible.
Okay, so you should see yourself on the map there. Feel free to move yourself to where you want to go. I'm happy you've had to move your token.
What do I need for a stealth roll?
Okay, I would say you're probably looking at either dex or wits for your attribute. I'll leave that up to you, and stealth. Success is 4. Okay, yeah. So obviously I won't tell you whether you succeed or not, but feel free to move yourself to where you want to go.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's the building here.
Yeah, that's right. The one outlined in yellow is the tourist's haven, and the blue outlined area is basically the streets.
I'm guessing the front door's about there.
Yep.
So I'll use the framework as my cover whilst I'm sticking my head round to figure out what I'm dealing with here.
Okay, no problem. So you sort of peer out through a crack in the front door, and you see on the street, on the building opposite, obviously having just come out of it, you can see 2 more of these men, again carrying like these shotguns, wearing these black fatigues, balaclavas, etc. Goggles. They look to be similar to these sort of like night vision goggles that the guy inside was wearing, or so I should say infravision goggles, like heat goggles.
Heat sensitive.
Exactly, yeah. Standing between them is a man so pale he could almost be a kindred himself, although he's clearly breathing. That might be due to the moonlight. Obviously the moon will be full in but 3 or 4 days. The moonlight streaming down him. A tall, thin, pallid man wearing the black and white vestments of a member of the church. He appears to be holding what looks to be a large duffel bag at his side. He's standing there. He's wearing like a wide-brimmed black hat. He's looking around the streets, You can see he's just taking an outpouring of breath, which hisses out in steam in the cold night air in this January chill, obviously just having finished calling out his challenge.
Okay, I'll step back and go to the back. Move Aurelio further towards Hugo. And I'll just hold up 3 on my hand.
Yep, so you see Sonia go like that.
Sean, this guy we captured, did he have a shotgun as well?
He did, yep.
Okay, and he's still with us, is he? He's unconscious,
he's unconscious, but he's with you, yeah. Any of his equipment you wanted, you can have taken. But he's
Okay,
basically
so
got the heat goggles and the shotgun.
Yeah, I'll have taken both of them.
Absolutely fine.
Should we run, or do we want to have dinner?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking to the more physical, aggressive sorts of the group, because this is not my thing. My thing is staying hidden and keeping out of the way of these sorts.
Yeah. We haven't got long to talk about this. Personally, I'm happy to kill them all, but we don't know exactly what they're on with.
As you're debating this, the stillness of the Venice night is pierced by a blood-curdling screaming that appears to be coming from the street that you know the priest is currently on.
I'm not really too fussed about a blood-curdling scream, to be honest. I reckon Aurelio and Franco head towards the canal, just start pulling back, and myself and Hugo will be your support, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to start making a way if we're going to try and withdraw. That's not a problem.
But that's if everybody doesn't want to fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go along with it. It's just I'm not very good at it. So, if people want to do it, then...
Again,
judging by the state of that woman, it's going to be painful.
There's another blood-curdling scream from the street, and by now a faint smell, almost like burnt pork or meat, has started to waft down the little alleyway to your undead nostrils.
Can I walk down this little alleyway kind of silently and see what's going on?
Yep, make either a wits or a dex stealth roll if you're trying to remain unseen.
Okay, so wits and stealth.
Yeah, absolutely
2
fine.
successes.
Hugging the shadows, you start edging down this alleyway. Eventually let's see, where are you? So you're there. So
Yes, I'm here. Oh, sorry, I'm moving the wrong card. This is wrong. Sorry. This is where I want to be.
Okay, no problems. So as you peer around the alleyway, you see the 2 men in black fatigues with the priest standing behind them, and the 2, let's call them soldiers, just so we've got a convenient label for them. The 2 soldiers are holding a person who's on their knees. Between them, you recognise Raiden Scott, the leader of the anarch coterie known as the Taurus, a thin, lanky American bourgeois. He also looks incredibly badly burned. His clothing is torn. He's covered in cuts. Like I say, there's the two of them sort of like hands on his shoulder, holding him on the knees. And as you watch, one of them lifts up what looks to be like a metal thermos flask or something similar, and he pours out what appears to be a clear liquid onto the face of Raiden Scott. As this liquid touches his undead flesh, the flesh appears to like bubble, smoke, and almost sort of like melt and fall off his face. At which point he again lets out another of these ear-piercing screams, or they're now becoming sort of slightly gurgled as like a lot of his face has been eaten away.
Okay. So I will just head back and whisper that they're torturing the kindred.
Okay, just as you start making your way back to say this, as you're sort of retreating back into the shadows, you see one of the soldiers look round at the priest and he says, "What shall we do now, Father?" At which point the priest says, "Well, if they won't come out, we have no further use for him." And he reaches down into the duffel bag and he takes what looks to be a small sword out of the duffel bag. And then obviously you duck back to tell the other guys that they're torturing this kid.
Okay, so I guess when he pulls out the sword, how close are all of us with this coterie? Are we close?
Well, they're technically your tenants because they sort of like reside in your sort of area, but you've been out, a couple of you have been out with like hunting and sort of drinking with them. I mean, you're not exactly bosom buddies or anything.
Okay, so I think when I see him pull the sword, I'm going to shoot him with the shotgun.
Okay, go for it. Make your dex roll for that.
Dex
firearms.
Dex firearms. That is 3 successes.
Okay. So yeah, your shot rings out in the night and hits this priest square in his shoulder, sort of throwing him back several feet. At which point there is the two soldiers like push this person down to the ground and they like return fire with their own guns, but because they've got to lift them up, you've got more than enough time to like duck back into it, and instead of hitting you, you just see like on the corner of the building like some of the stonework get chewed up and like spray out in stone fragments. Obviously the rest of you hear this screaming, then you hear the like from Hugo. There's a slight cry from the priest as he gets hit in the shoulder, and then there's this barrage of return fire. And the small sort of alleyway that you are sort of ducking back into, Hugo, is filled with like dust from this debris and sort of masonry that's been chewed up by the return fire, making it quite difficult to see like down the alleyway because it's full of all this dust and sort of smoke.
Is this area here, John, an alleyway, or is that?
No, it's another building.
Solid building.
Yeah. Yeah, the only sort of streets where you are the ones sort of outlined in blue.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like once you get to here, you can see that it's the street all up and down here in the canal. Okay, so I'm going to go in a sort of semi-initiative order now, just because obviously we're actually getting into. You've effectively really initiated a combat, so. I've wrote down the current sort of order, so we're going to go with Franco first. So Franco, what are you doing?
How easy would it be to climb up onto the roof of the group? You know, the highlighted building.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've not established how many stories there are in it, so I'm going to say, can you roll me a D4? Then we'll add 2, and that's the number of stories in it. Okay, so it's a 5-story building. So I'm just going to put a a number 5 on there somewhere. Okay, so effectively it'll take you 5 turns to, like, if you wanted to climb up to the very top.
Yeah, it's quite a while.
That's sort of moving at like a normal speed, not having to make a roll, going safely, checking your footing, etc. You could potentially do it quicker, but that would involve a roll and potentially like falling if you failed on the roll.
And what about this building sort of next to it? Just
Okay, again, make us the same roll.
okay.
Okay, so only 3 stories on that building.
Okay. And would I be able to jump down from the roof if I needed to? I don't know what sort of.
Yeah, you'd be able to jump down. I mean, you might take
Capabilities.
you might take a bit of damage, but it would only be, it'd be the same as if you get shot. You know, you get to halve the damage, because just like falling onto something isn't really such a stress for like vampires. You don't have sort of internal organs and stuff like that you really have to worry about. So you might take a bit of damage. I mean, especially if you like jump from the top of the 5th floor like down to the ground, but
Oh yeah, that's why I was.
it'd be a case of like you might sort of have a bit of a limp for a few minutes when you get up. It's not like you're going to fall off it and then just be like, oh, that's me done.
Yeah. It's just the time it's going to take. How far is it? Roughly how many sort of squares could we move, do you think?
I'd say you could probably like do maybe like 3 in a turn.
In a turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I say we'll keep it fairly loose, so we're not getting down to exact measurements.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to go round the other way. I'm going to go this way.
Okay.
Try and confuse them once I come round the corner.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there. As on this boat here, the tarpaulin that's on top of it is suddenly thrown aside, and you see another one of these black fatigued soldiers rises, sort of like he's crouched down, but you see he's like lifted up a gun that he's stabilizing on the boat. He fires the gun at you down the narrow alleyway. However, because he's got to throw this tarpaulin off and you're quite quick on your feet, you get a bit of advance notice and you sort of put yourself flat against the wall, and the shotgun pellets sort of hit the opposing wall on the alleyway, and you don't take any damage from it.
Okay. It's just the one guy, was it?
That you can see at the moment, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And he just appears to be sat in, well, I've been like hunkered down in this boat. It may indeed be the boat that these guys used to get here, and perhaps they've just like left someone on guard.
Yep. Cool.
You can see he's got like the same sort of heat vision goggles down over his face, like black balaclava. Okay, so Aurelio.
What's Sonia doing at the moment?
Sonia is currently stood behind this building, especially as there's gunfire going off everywhere.
I don't know, I guess Aurelia's just gonna very loudly whispers, "What should we do?"
I think we have to fight our way out either way.
They're making a terrible racket, so someone will have heard the screams anyway.
Yeah, the police won't be far behind. You need to get out of here, I think. So you can either stay hunkered down in this alley or try and fight, but you're probably better off staying hunkered down in the alley.
Hmm. I suppose I'll be here, sort of around the corner.
Okay.
Sort of waiting to see if anything comes to this particular street, and there's not a lot for Aurelio to do. Yeah, no, we're going to see how things develop. I think Aurelio's not really a soldier, so, yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna hang back for now.
Okay, no problem. So you're sort of in this dust-filled alleyway, when at the end of the alleyway you see a sort of silhouette through the dust, and as you watch, you suddenly see what appears to be a shining white light, roughly in the shape of a sword blade, as the priest, holding this sort of small sword that he's carrying, which seems to be emitting this white light that is a little bit painful for you to look at, but doesn't cause you actual damage, literally charges through the dust towards you, swinging this sword. And I am just going to make a roll for him once I get his stats, which I have bookmarked. Okay. Okay, so at the moment he is going to hit you with the sword. However, you do have an opportunity to either use a weapon to defend yourself, in which case whoever gets the highest roll, most successes, does the damage, or you can use you can always use your dex dodge to try and avoid it. But if you do it that way, you wouldn't inflict any damage if you manage to dodge. That's literally just you trying to get out of the way.
So can I use my shotgun to try and knock the blade away and pull the trigger at the same time?
You wouldn't be able to pull the trigger at the same time, but you could like try and hit him with the butt of it effectively.
Okay.
But obviously you wouldn't do as much damage as if you were like...
Excellent. Okay, and is that just a standard dex melee?
Yep.
Block, okay. That is 3 successes.
Okay, so you are stabbed or cut sort of quite shallowly by this glowing sword, and you have taken 3 levels of aggravated damage. As this sword, even though it only shallowly slices your flesh, the wound seems to burn as though like fire itself was inflicting this wound on you.
Okay.
And you can see like around, in a similar way to what was happening to Raiden Scott, you see like wisps of sort of like smoke as the charred sort of flesh around the cuts hisses and steams in the cold air.
Okay, and just so I understand, the aggravated damage is the double damage or full damage?
It's full damage.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's 3 X's in the
Yeah.
health. Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so next person to go is Sonia.
All right.
Obviously, as well, you go. How do you react to being hit like this? Do you let out a cry? Do you shout or anything like that? Because obviously, like Sonia might hear that, or the others might hear that. But you are like a hardened sort of like military type, so even though you feel the pain,
yeah, no,
you
I don't
don't
think I
have
do.
to.
I guess, call out, watch out for the sword. You know, kind of a bit of a shout.
Yep. So you guys hear like the sound of like metal clashing on metal as he sort of like knocks your shotgun aside. You've still got hold of it, but he like knocks out of the way and strikes you. Then you hear like a slightly ragged voice of Yugo shouting to watch out for the sword. And any of you who are sort of like really near the alleyway, which is probably only Aurelio at this point, you can actually see through the dust and debris that's filling that little alleyway. You can see like a sort of faint hint of this white light shining out from the alleyway.
I'm going to go to there, and then I'm going to use Potence 2 to pounce on the priest.
Absolutely fine. Make an attack roll. If you're doing an attack, which I presume you are.
Yes, it'd be brawl.
I dive in to talk.
That's it. Stop
Quick
this!
conversation.
Okay, he's going to try and dodge. And to dodge he does. As you're sort of like reeling back a little bit from the blow, the dust is suddenly sort of like blown aside by the passage of Sonia. She literally like leaps over you. You go to try and pounce on this priest. At the last moment, the priest sort of throws himself backwards out of the alleyway, just narrowly missing where like Sonia's foot like crashes down onto the cobbles of the street, and you again see a few chips of stone come up from the sheer force of her landing. Okay, you go.
I think I will just pull the trigger on the shotgun again.
Yep, absolutely, go for it.
Choose the dex. Ooh, that is no successes.
Okay, you squeeze the trigger on the shotgun. Unfortunately, given all the new fresh dust that's been thrown up by Sonia landing, it's difficult to like precisely pick your target, and you're trying to avoid Sonia as well, so you don't manage to tag the priest, unfortunately. Okay, then finally it is the two soldiers again, we'll call them here. So I'm going to have one shoot at Hugo and one shoot at Sonia. So the one shooting at Hugo, okay, that is 3 successes. So you can make a dex dodge roll to dodge if you want. Obviously, each success you get like cancels out one of theirs. If you get 3 or more,
is that just the dex one? Is it, or is there a dodge skill?
it will be. It's dex athletics, I believe.
Okay. Five successes.
Yeah, not a problem. You see them from a mile off lifting these guns, and you've been in firefights and situations like that before. You jink from left to right in the alleyway, and the shot goes nowhere near you. Okay, so the one firing at Sonia. That is 2 successes. Obviously, you can use a dex athletics to dodge if you wish as well, Sonia.
I'll just use Fortitude 2.
Okay, what does your Fortitude 2 do?
Toughness. All vampires with this power exhibit an innate ability to ignore damage that would otherwise inconvenience and even disable other kindred. Subtract the fortitude of the defender from all superficial damage sustained, and then halve it.
Yeah. The shot like hits you full bore in your chest, and it like shreds your clothing, but you're just like, and what? They're not firing sort of at any special rounds. It's just like shotgun pellets. It hits you, like I say, your clothing gets sort of shredded, the wind's whipped around you, but you yourself, powered by your supernatural fortitude, do you have to make a rouse roll for that, or is it?
I do have to make a rouse.
Okay,
for that,
so make your rouse roll. Yep, so it'll have raised your hunger by 1. What's your hunger level at the moment? Just out of interest. 2. That's fine. Yep, so powered by your blood and your supernatural fortitude, the shotgun blast does no damage to you at all, even though it hits you like dead on. Okay, so that's them done. We're back round to the start, so it's Franco again.
This guy on the boat.
Yep.
Do I think this is sort of body armor they're wearing, or like heavy stuff? If they went in the water, it would cause them problems, or
They don't seem to be. They just seem to be wearing like combat fatigues. Effectively, it might give them a little bit of armor because of padding and whatever, but they're not wearing like full on like tactical body armor or anything like that.
No, so it probably wouldn't be that bad. Try and deal with this guy before heading back. So can I move and attack him?
Yep. Move yourself next to him on the boat. You can literally like leap onto the boat and like. Are you going in with just like your fists, or do you have a weapon you're using?
I haven't got a weapon, so this is going to be particularly bad.
So it's either going to be strength or dex athletics, whichever you prefer.
Okay.
Depending on whether you like, or whether you just like.
Yeah, I mean they're both the same, but I think it would be more dexterity. He's going to try and jump on him.
Nice. And obviously you made your roll, but what is your aim? What are you aiming to do? Are you just trying to inflict damage, or?
Well, I was trying to get the gun off him, ideally.
Okay, yeah. So
Like
what
the
I'm
only weapon.
going to do with this is he's going to defend using his gun. Again, he can't fire it at you because you're right next to him, but he's going to try and like hit you with the gun. So if he wins, he might inflict a little bit of damage on you from like. If you win, you take no damage. You wrestle the gun off him, and you can inflict a little bit of damage on him if you want.
Right, yeah.
So let me make a roll for him. Okay, and that is 3 successes. So that'll be -2, so that'll be 1 + 1. So you will take 1 point of superficial damage, as literally like catches you on the chin with the butt of his gun, but really doesn't do a great deal to you. Now, just to point out to you guys, in case any of you are unaware, if you wish, you can use your blood to boost your attributes. And the way that works is you effectively have to make a rouse roll in order to do it, which obviously can mean your hunger goes up effectively. But you can then you get to add your blood surge value to the dice pool of any test which uses an attribute. So for your guys, it'll be based on your generation, so your blood potency, which I presume is it 1 for all of you?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, so if you do a blood surge, so you make that rouse roll, you get to add like 2 to your attributes effectively, because you're just sort of like powering yourself up by calling on the strength of the blood in you. But obviously it can result in your hunger going up. Okay, so that's Franco, so we're on to Aurelio.
Any windows or doors on this side of the street into the building marked in green or yellow, I guess?
Yeah, there's the back door that you guys came out of, which leads into this street, so you can easily, and that's pre-picked and open, so you can easily go in through that. I mean, you've seen Sonia do it.
Yep, in we go. What sort of rooms are we looking at?
Like I say, on the low level, as is customary, there's effectively like a small kitchenette, and then you know from what the others have told you from when they're inside, there's a bedroom. It's like about the 3rd floor. There's like a lounge on the 2nd floor, because there's mostly only like 1 room per floor because they build up, and then there's another couple of rooms that they didn't really get to higher up.
Gonna go into the kitchen, and I'll very rapid inventory of what's available. As far as what I'm looking for is flammables, oil, very distilled alcohol, any kind of I suppose, if it's if there's like, I don't know, it probably wouldn't be like gas canisters, but yeah.
Okay, there's not a great. Only have a quick look around, obviously, but there's not a great deal of flammable stuff, which doesn't really surprise you because like Kindred have been using it as the haven. You can see there's effectively like a gas cooker in here. There's probably a small fire extinguisher there. I'm going to say roll me a d6. If you get an even number, there's maybe like a kerosene lamp. Yep, so there's like a small sort of kerosene lamp. You know, the sort of old minery style, like antique ones, which are actually quite common in Venice because they often hang them on the bows of like the boats, particularly in misty weather. So a lot of people have them as just sort of like things around there, especially when they have what's called high water, when like the water levels rise, and like the electricity supply can be a little bit on the dodgy side. So a lot of homes do have these.
Right. So I'll grab the lamp.
Yep.
Presuming that there's like, I don't know, matches to ignite it.
Yeah, there's like a box of those like long matches next to it.
Yep. So I'll get those. No booze, I presume.
No, doesn't seem to be.
Kitchen. Okay. So the lamp, matches. Up we go. I mean, this is a couple of things, but all he's doing is he's running through the
yeah, you're literally running through, grabbing it, and heading upstairs.
Up to the top and bedroom in the third floor.
Okay, so it's going to take you till next round to get to the, so you're going up a floor and grabbing this. So on the next turn, you'll be in the bedroom on the third floor, effectively.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just wanted to confirm that that's actually where I'm going.
Yes, it is. So. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so after Aurelio, it's Father Angelo. So I'm going to roll a d6 because obviously Hugo and Sonia are both sort of pretty near him. I'm going to roll a d6, and if I get 1, 2, or 3, he's going for Hugo. Otherwise, he's going for Sonia. Okay, so he's going for Sonia. So let me just check his melee. There we go. Okay, so currently he is on 3 successes. Obviously, you can choose to use a weapon to defend yourself, Sonia, or you can choose to use like Dex Athletics or something similar to just try and dodge.
I will dodge.
Okay. Okay, so he's only got 1 success through, so that turns it into 3 levels of aggravated damage as you are stabbed with this glowing sword. And again, the wound appears to blister, and unlike the shotgun shell which hit yourself and like you were just like, yeah, and what caused no pain, this causes severe pain that seems to ripple throughout your body.
Okay, so I lose 1 health because of the 2 additional fortitude.
Does it say only superficial damage for the fortitude?
No, I add my fortitude to my health anyway.
Oh, right, that's cool. Yeah, that's fine then.
So I'm just trying to sort this out now.
It's all right, no problems. Well,
there you go. 1 health.
Okay, and you might get your chance for some sweet, sweet revenge now because it's your go.
That's good then. I'm going to use my potent.
Mm-hmm.
Lethal body, all damage is aggravated, and I ignore
That'll do it.
1 level armor per potence level, so I've got potence 2.
Yep.
So I ignore 2 levels of armor.
Yep, he's only got 1.
Yep. I'm also going to boost my strength with my blood.
Yep, so you get an additional +2 to your attribute.
Yep.
Obviously, make your rouse roll.
Yeah, we'll do that.
As you call on the power of the stolen blood.
Yeah, 1 success.
Nice, so your hunger doesn't rise. And then make your attack roll. And obviously he's going to try and dodge. I don't really fancy his chances, but... Okay.
There you go.
So... Oh, I don't know if he succeeds on all of these, he might just be alright. Which he spectacularly doesn't. So I got 1 success, that's knocked off 1 of yours. So it's 3 plus whatever your... Let's see, so it'd be Let me just check for brawling how much damage gets added, because it's normally the weapon. Boom, boom, boom.
I think it might just be the, whatever you roll.
Weapons, there we go. Improvised state. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So
And that's
it's
all ag.
so it's 3 levels of aggravated damage, which, having already taken 3 levels of lethal and
Yep.
being immortal, is pretty much enough to put him to like almost dead. So would you like to describe how you can effectively have killed him if you wish? So like I say, he's so nearly dead. Or you can have him like just sort of lingering at death's doorway. That's entirely down to you. But would you like to narrate how this unfolds as you call on the power of your blood to strike down this man of God?
Summoning the power of my blood, I punch out towards his chest,
Yep.
turning my hand into effectively a stake and
Nice.
grabbing his heart. So I literally, at the moment, hold his heart in my hand. And I'll let him realise that.
Okay, and that is what
Plus
happens.
1 dead.
Okay. He's double dead. He was dead before, but I've ripped his heart out. That's plus 1 dead in my book. So you literally do the whole like Kalimar thing out of Indiana Jones, where you like punch forward, sort of closing your fist as it goes into his chest, and you wrench it back out. It all happens so rapidly that he sort of like, he takes a step forward as though he's going to carry on like pressing his attacks against you. Then he looks down and there's just like this gaping, bloody, sort of dripping hole in his chest. He sort of looks up and his mouth opens as though he's trying to say something, and then like the strength goes out of his legs and he just falls face first onto the ground.
And I will say as he dies, "Where's your God now?"
Nice. And he is, as we like to say in the trade, double dead. Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick roll for his guys. Okay, so they actually seem sort of spurred on and more determined by the fact that they've seen their sort of leader, this holy figure, struck down, his very heart pulled out by one of these demons, and you're still sort of stood there, Sonia, with this in your hand. It's only just sort of like stopping to beat. That's how quickly you've wrenched it out of his chest. And obviously the 2 soldiers are sort of like shouting and like howling as they're sort of readying their guns to like carry on going. But before they get to do that, it's Hugo.
Okay, so I would like to activate my Eyes of the Beast, which make me super scary. And I would like then to do the Blood Surge
Okay.
for strength.
I'm going to tell you, as well as a little added like bonus, because they literally just passed like the morale check that I was doing for them, and you obviously give extra bonuses to intimidation. So I'm going to say, sort of seeing you coming at after they've seen the heart ripped out by this like tiny petite woman, then all of a sudden this very not petite like military guy with like glowing red demonic eyes comes like striding out of the dust. They're not sort of straightforward like just like throwing the weapons down and running, but you see the look in their eyes, and you've seen that look in soldiers' eyes before. You know that like as soon as they get a chance, they're getting the hell out of here. Like the fight's just drained out of their faces.
Okay.
But you get used to get to go first.
So given that I see that the fight is gone from them, what I want to do is try and jump on the first one.
Yep.
And start eating his blood, if I can.
Okay, that is not a problem. So effectively you're making a feeding attack, which is absolutely fine. So you need to do a bite attack. It counts to like get your fangs in. It counts as an unarmed attack, but you get a -2 penalty to it. But you do aggravated damage, and then you get to start feeding.
Okay, so
once you've got your fangs in, they're going to be like,
So can I do the blood surge?
Yeah. Make
And
a make a rouse roll.
Okay, so then make a rouse roll.
Okay, so it'll have moved your hunger up by 1. So
Okay.
what is your hunger on at the moment?
2.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So make your attack roll with a -2 modifier.
So I'll do strength plus melee.
Yep.
And then it's basically
Well, when
flat as
it would be athletics because you're not using a weapon. You're literally just trying to pounce on them.
Okay, sorry. So strength plus athletics, and then +2 for the blood, -2 for defeating attack.
Yeah. So effectively, you're just
roll.
making a normal roll. Yeah.
Okay, so that is 1 success.
1 success. Okay. I'm going to make his dex dodge roll. I know it's not dodge, but you know what I mean. Dex athletics. Because effectively, he's trying to run away anyway. Okay, he manages to avoid you as they're sort of, and it's going on to their go next. So basically, they're sort of withdrawing, and it's in a sort of, or they're obviously trained like military people, but they are like doing like a strategic withdrawal rather than out and out route. You know, they sort of like keep like looking backwards and trying to like cover themselves. And they've taken a few pot shots, but I'm not going to roll for them because they're literally just like as they're withdrawing. They're not taking time to aim or anything like that. They seem to be making their way back towards the main street and the canal. Okay, so the one in the boat there, obviously he can't really shoot you now, Franco, because you're both sort of like wrestling. So it's just going to be a straightforward like strength athletics for him. He's trying to push you off the boat. You can defend with strength athletics if you wish.
Okay,
And what would you, if you win, what's your aim?
I assume we're still wrestling over the gun.
Yeah, basically he's got the gun and he's trying to use it like almost like a bar to like push you over the side of the boat.
Yeah, I'll basically just do exactly the same thing, but hopefully holding on the gun as he falls into the water if I was successful.
Have you got potence, Darren?
Potence? Not what, as a...
As a discipline.
Discipline.
No.
Okay, so I'm currently on 2 successes. So if you make your roll, Darren.
Exactly the same.
Okay, so it's 2. So I'm basically going to say that you guys are still sort of like pushing. He's trying to push you off, but you're resisting, and neither of you's managed to gain the upper hand as you're sort of struggling backwards and forwards in this boat. The boat has started to like rock a bit as you're both sort of struggling about. Obviously, the tarpaulins are long gone now. Okay, and then we come back to you, Franco. Anyway, so.
Oh, okay. I don't really know what's going on behind me yet, so...
I think you can probably hear there's like shouts, there's been gunshots, then you can hear like the sound of like running feet on stone, maybe getting a little bit closer, but like I say, you've been tussling with this guy, so you haven't really had a chance to look around and see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't... I mean, obviously I know there's stuff going on, but I don't know who's sort of winning or what's going on in that sense. I think I'm gonna try this one more time, but I'm gonna like use my blood to give myself a better chance, basically.
So make your rouse roll. Okay, so you're fine. Your hunger doesn't increase, but you get a bonus of +2. So make your strength athletics roll, or dex if you prefer.
Assuming just put a 2 in the
Yeah,
modifier.
exactly, yeah. Oof. Right, okay. He's trying to do exactly the same, trying to like push you off the boat as you're trying to like get him.
Yep.
So let me make his roll. Okay, so he has only got 2 successes, so you have comprehensively beaten him. What is your aim?
Keep hold of the gun and push him off the boat.
Yep, so you literally rag the gun out of his hand with one of yours, and then just like planting your foot on the rim of the boat. You push his chest. He topples over and disappears into the water. with a loud splash. Okay, Aurelio, you've made it up to the 3rd floor. You're in this small sort of bedroom room. You can see there's basically a couple of single-sized beds in here. They don't really look like they've been slept in much. Not surprising, Kindred Haven. But
sheets.
yeah, there's sheets on the bed. Like I say, it looks like they were made some time ago and they've not really been used. So they're all on the beds like duvets. There's a couple of small wooden dressers, maybe like a pot plant, a few like clothes, that sort of stuff.
Any closets or similar?
There's no sort of closets you can see. Obviously, there are stairs going up though to these other 2 floors, and there's like a couple of small windows.
So stairs going up still from where...
Yeah, 'cause you're on the 3rd floor now. Yeah, there's like 2 more floors.
Floor, yeah. I'm gonna rough up one of the beds in the process of grabbing the sheet.
Yep, not a problem. You grab a sort of thick sheet.
Yep, and up we go to inspect the other 2 floors.
Okay, not a problem. You continue to head up to the 4th floor. Okay, so now it will be the priest, but he's double dead, so it's straight on to Sonia. What do you do, Sonia?
Going there. I shall attack the one directly below me.
Okay, go for it. As you charge down the street towards these fleeing 2 soldiers. And I presume you're still hitting them with like the ag damage, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if his dex dodge can do anything. No, it can't. So would you like to describe how you like effectively explosively detonate this person? Since they're probably triple dead at least.
I'm just going to snap his spine with one punch, sending him flying down the street, to be honest. I think that's probably the nicest way you can go without me, again, reaching into the back of his chest and ripping out another heart.
Yep, and that is indeed what happens. You sort of smack him in the spine. There's an ear-splitting crack, and he pretty much flies into one of the walls and sort of lands in a bloody heap. Okay, you go.
I guess I would like to do something similar to the last guy.
Yeah, move yourself down.
How long does the blood stay roused for?
The scene.
Okay, cool. So I will do an unarmed attack, which is strength plus athletics plus 2. Which is 4.
And are you striking with a weapon or are you block punching?
Punching.
Okay. So I've got 1 success, so you would do 3 superficial damage to him. So yeah, so you punch the soldier and he sort of staggers forward. He's still running, but you can see like he's quite winded by your heavy blow. He sort of like, sort of half falls over, but manages to struggle to his feet as he keeps running. Okay. Then we go on to the soldiers. This guy's basically going to make it to the street there. He sort of... He's obviously looking more behind him, so not paying attention. Doesn't realise that his guy's been dumped out of the boat and it's now Franco who's in there. So he's just like sort of looking over his shoulder and sort of like holding his chest and sort of struggling for breath. He starts like running towards the boat, obviously planning on like jumping in the boat and getting the hell out of Dodge. And then we come back to Franco.
I remember, is this gun loaded that I've got?
Yeah.
No. Oh, it is. Yeah, so as I see this guy come running round, then I think I'm just going to fire this gun at him.
Okay, make your Dex firearms roll.
Did you say that the blood I used
Yep.
continues for the whole scene? Yeah.
Yep. It's a pretty tasty ability.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, that was rubbish, though.
Okay. However, he's not dodging, because he doesn't know you're there, and you get your weapon damage added to it, which is 3. So that is 4 lethal damage to him, which, given that he's already taken like 3 damage, will be enough to finish him off. So basically, he starts running down the street, and he's like, Vincetti, we've got to get out of... And then he sort of goes... As he sees you lifting the gun, he sort of tries to skid to a halt and like turn round. Time seems to slow down for a few moments. There's a loud... a flash, and the recoil of the gun. It hits him square in the chest, spinning him around. He almost seems to pirouette around for a few moments, and then collapses to the floor. There's some dark stains spreading out on the cobbles below him. And he is dead.
I should just reload in case any others are going to come running round.
Yeah, not a problem. You have a quick look around and you can see there's like some shells on the seat of the boat. Obviously the guy had like got his ammunition there in case he needed to like reload, so you like thumb a couple more shells into it. A few more minutes pass and nothing further seems to have happened.
I'm going to start removing bodies, John.
Absolutely
I'm
fine.
going to try and save the vampire, or see if we can't
Which
save him.
ritual?
Okay.
I forgot to say, what happened to the one that went in the water, John? Sorry.
He appears to have disappeared below the water. You've not seen him resurface.
Okay, I'll be looking for him as well. Not going after him, but just looking over the boat just in case he
Okay.
does.
So
Or around the area.
a couple of minutes later, you spot him as he's like basically like pulling himself out on the opposite side of the canal. He's obviously like didn't fancy tangling with you, so he sort of swum over to the other side and he's trying to like pull himself out the other side.
I've
Okay.
used ashes to ashes twice, John, and I'm going to feed on the unconscious one.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. How much blood are you taking? Are you taking it all?
All of it, yeah.
Yep, so you can reduce your hunger by... I forget how much it is. I think
I get to go back- I get to go to
clears
zero,
your,
don't I?
it clears your hunger if you're killing him, yeah.
And then I'm going to use ashes to ashes on that body.
Yeah, that's not a problem. So you drain all the blood out of this unconscious soldier, and then you use your necromantic talents to like decay the rest of the bodies away to nothing.
Yeah, so the priest, the one in the alley that I killed, and this one are all ashes.
Okay. So where the priest was, there is now just ashes and this small sword, which now no longer appears to be glowing.
I'm going to get some cloth and pick that up.
Yeah, you get some cloth, you pick it up. It's a very short sword, probably about yay long. So it looks to have been fairly sort of ornately made. It's made in the sort of standard like cruciform sort of style of most swords. You can see that the handle is carved so it resembles a figure with its arms crossed, maybe a saint or something like that.
Okay, I'm going to wrap that up and go to Aurelio.
Okay. Not a problem. Obviously, we're effectively not in combat rounds anymore, guys. So, feel free to do what you do. You don't have to do it in strict order now. And in fact, I'm going to...
Is there any other bodies left?
Not that you can see now. And in fact, I'm going to move us all back to the main map, because we don't really need that anymore.
Yes, we all get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I think I would have run back to see what happened to the others and tell them that one of them got away.
Well, we have a free boat.
Yeah, I don't know how
Yeah, it's a
how
small
obvious it's
motorboat.
their boat, or if it's just a real plain.
It seems actually like incredibly plain, almost as though it's like deliberately designed to have like as few identifying features as possible.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's effectively a small motorboat. You could probably fit the four of you in without too much difficulty. More than that, you might start getting a bit cramped. The manoeuvrability might start suffering a bit, but you probably squeeze 6 in at a push.
Is Raiden still alive? Is he?
He is lying on the ground. Like I say, pretty much half of his face is like melted away. To be honest, it's kind of difficult to tell. He's not moving. Obviously, he's not breathing.
Okay. So I will try and lean down and kind of speak to him and see if he can tell me where Damien is.
Okay, so what do you say to him as you sort of lean down next to him?
I guess I just kind of, can wake up, Raiden. Where's Damien? Where did they take him?
You see like his one sort of like good remaining eye like turns your direction, and through his ruined sort of throat, like half his sort of like face around here is sort of like all melted away. You hear him go like,
Okay. So, and the building they were in, is that door open where they came out?
yeah.
So I want to very quickly run in there and see if there's any sign of anything valuable or vampire-esque.
Okay, so you quickly run inside. There's nothing obviously vampire-y in there. You do find what appears to be like a set of like binoculars on like a stand in the upper floor where they're obviously observing the across the street from. You can see from the fact that there's like sandwiches and like bits of food and stuff like that left around. They must have been here for like a little bit. They were like prepared to be staking the place out for a while. But you probably find like a bit of extra ammunition. There's maybe a couple of pistols there that you can take if you want.
Yeah.
But there's nothing major there. This, and as you're sort of looking around with your professional opinion, it's as though they've actually gone to lengths to leave like as few tracks or traces as possible.
Okay. So then I'll run back out and grab Raiden and bring him to the boat. Try and get him
no
away.
problem. Yep. You easily carry him to the boat. That's not a problem. So you guys just all piling into the boat and getting out of here.
Is it best to take the boat to one of our sort of
Havens.
secondary havens?
Yeah.
Like, leave the boat there, if anyone wants to keep it.
Yeah, we should definitely keep it.
Okay. So where are you guys heading? Are you heading back to your communal haven or?
I don't think that's wise at the moment. Weren't we going to a town square somewhere?
Or originally.
As far as I recall.
Mm.
In fact, as you sort of think about it, Sonia, the only other thing you recall that you were supposed to be doing this evening is you were supposed to be going and picking up your outfits for the Hikata family gathering.
Okay, I shall find some form of cloth to wrap around myself as I'm mostly naked now because I've got a shotgun blast.
Well, luckily for you, it just so happens that like Aurelio came out of the house like carrying a big sheet.
Let's talk about that. So, anything in the house that would be incriminating as far as vampires?
Not as far as you
will
can
have
see.
bagged that. Yeah, because he's not gonna go looking for like, oh, did they plaster a corpse in a wall? No, but anything just visible.
Not as far
If
as
not,
you can see, but knowing what you know of the tourists, they tended to sort of like feed while they were out and away from the haven on the sort of like the tourists of Venice. The sort of while they were partying, they didn't tend to sort of feed near the haven, so it's not surprising you don't find anything obviously vampire-y. The only thing you do notice that you're like, oh, I see, is that when you get into the top floor, it's like a big attic, and in there are 3 or 4 like very large, you know, the sort of tea chests, in the big old sort of chests, and you're like, oh, like improvised sleeping arrangements. It's pretty obvious. You see, like, you know, a couple of them have got like blankets in them that they've probably been, instead of sleeping down in the actual beds, they've probably been sleeping in these big chests up here in this room, which only has like one small window in it, which is covered over.
Yeah. I will have thrown open the that window and grabbed a bunch of the blankets, come down, throw the blankets on the bed that I ruffled up, and eventually come out. And Sonia, if you need something as far as fabric goes, I've got a sheet or a toga.
That'll have to do.
Yep.
Maybe I can tie it somehow. I don't know.
Okay, so what's the plan, guys?
One of the people in this coterie were female, weren't they?
Yeah, that was Valerie Reyes, who was the person who originally like turned you on to this.
Okay, I'm going to go and try and find some clothing.
Oh, in the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a problem. You can find some clothing. As I said earlier, there is some clothing in the bedroom. I mean, it's not much, but yeah, you might find like a pair of jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah, that'll do. And then we better go to get our outfits.
Okay, not a problem. So you.
So I think I'll take Raiden, who's very badly injured, somewhere else, and I guess the guys can pick up my outfit for me. And I'll have my retainer come and feed him and try and bring him back to life.
Yeah, you can tell that he's effectively still alive, but he's taken a large amount of what looks to you like, in game terms, aggravated damage. You know yourself that like normal damage, you know, from like a gun or a blade or something like that, or a fall or something like that, vampires can heal it fairly quickly. Whereas aggravated damage, which normally you get from like fire and sunlight and stuff like that, that takes a good deal longer to heal. So he probably will be alright, like you say, with your retainer feeding him, but it's going to be a while before he's good to go out in public, shall we say, to be diplomatic about it. But yeah, okay. So the rest of you head further into Cannaregio to head to Riolo's. As I say, this, as much as you remembered it, this exclusive small wooden tailor shop, faded wooden sign, set back a bit from the main tourist area of Cannaregio. There's dummies in the window with everything from modern suits to carnival designs, etc.
Before we get there, John, I'm going to pull Aurelio into an alleyway and show him this sword that I've picked up.
Yeah.
And just basically explain that it was glowing when the priest was using it.
I shall open my unseen senses, John, to glance at the blade.
Okay, not a problem. You glance at the blade with your unseen senses, and to your unseen eye, it doesn't cast out the rays that you saw previously emanating from the building. However, as you look at it now to your enhanced senses, you can see what appears to be very faintly glowing writing sort of along the blade, written in what appears to be Latin, and
which I speak.
Indeed, and it's very familiar to you. It appears to be the Lord's Prayer in Latin. And he's faintly, almost in the sort of like dwarven moon runes from like Lord of the Rings style, sort of glowing on the blade.
Yeah, so I'll just mutter, Paternoster, quies in caelis, sanctus et nomen tuum. Yes, it is. It is. I'll put a finger on the inscription.
Okay, that is absolutely fine. Make me a... I've got this written down. Hold on a second. Make me a stamina resolve roll.
I think this is gonna do it. Sure did.
Okay, so you touch the blade and it feels like painfully hot to the touch, but it doesn't actually do you any damage, and you withdraw your finger pretty quickly. You get the feeling that, like, if you'd have grabbed hold and you'd held on for a bit, it may have started to burn you, because it was painfully hot. It was like, you know, if you turn a tap on and the water comes out hotter than you're expecting, you quickly, like, instinctively, like, pull your hand away.
Yeah.
It's that sort of affair. And as he does that, Sonia, for just a few seconds, you see like a flicker of like a very faint, nothing like when the priest was using it, but a very faint sort of glow. And for just a couple of seconds, you can make out like the writing on the blade sort of glowing. But then when Aurelio yoinks his finger away, the writing instantly fades away.
That's interesting.
We better stash this away.
Okay, what, in the canal or what?
No, we might want to hang on to this.
Then
might
it's all
need to-
yours.
Oh,
So, did you have something to wrap it in?
Yeah, he wrapped it in
Yeah,
cloth.
I wrapped
Yep,
it in
yeah.
cloth, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you got clothes from the building, I have my sheet. So I'll wrap it up in a sheet, and under the cassock it goes.
Yep, so it's already wrapped in one layer of cloth. You wrap it in a second layer of cloth.
Yeah,
And then you,
mostly
like I say,
to hang it up, because
Yeah.
I don't have a scabbard belt.
Yeah, and like I say, it's only fairly small, luckily, so you like disappear it into your cassock. That's not a problem. And touching it through the cloth doesn't appear to cause you any problems. Okay.
Right, to the shop.
Indeed, so you're met at the shop by the Riolo Putanescu, this older gentleman, greying hair, wearing a very smart suit, vaguely reminiscent of a naval uniform, greying beard and moustache, quite a polite but sort of very old voice. But he appears, as we've said before, unusually sprightly for his age. He, as you walk in, the little sort of bell on the door goes, and he walks out with a smile on his face, twitching his moustache, and he says, it's good to see you again. I have your orders ready. This way, and he sort of gestures, and then he says, he shows you to like two sort of like little cordoned off sort of booths, you know, like little framework with like cloth, and he says, the clothes are in there if you would care to go and try them on. I have the last few final adjustments to make, but the garments are almost complete. Please, you are the customer. Your satisfaction is the most important thing to me. Please take your time, go in, inspect, try them on as you see fit. They're all currently in garment bags. I have labelled them for your convenience. I will be in the front of the shop should you have any questions or queries, or should you need anything further. And then he bows in an almost sort of like courtly manner, and he sort of withdraws backwards and disappears into the front of the shop, leaving the three of you stood in front of these like couple of booths.
I shall go and find my outfit, John, and
Okay, so you head in. Obviously, like they're labelled with your names. Yours is a strapless, sort of shimmering blue dress with a sort of quite a sort of fancy sort of white underlayer. The the material that's used almost has a sort of vaguely pearlescent look to it. So as you sort of hold it up and you look at it in the light, occasionally it like catches the light, and a sort of shimmer appears to like run through this fabric, and it almost reminds you of the sort of moonlight dancing on the waves of the canal outside. It's obviously a dress meant to impress and to turn heads, and it's been created by someone who professed himself to be a master tailor and seems to have the skills to pay those particular bills. For the rest of you, Aurelio, yours is a very sort of smart, sort of slightly more sort of modernish blue suit, and again it appears to have this sort of slightly sort of shimmering, almost like two-tone sort of effect on it, but when the light catches it at certain angles, certain bits of it appear to like reflect the light in an almost sort of silver pearlescent colour. And then of course we have Franco. You have a black shirt and top hat, and you have a two-tone purple and blue dinner jacket, which, depending on how the light catches it, seems to ripple between a dark sort of plummy purple and this sort of deep azure watery blue. And of course Hugo's outfit is there as well, and that is a blue, again similar two-tone blue-grey suit with a white suit and a pair of white dinner gloves, and they're also like neatly folded up and in these sort of garment bags, like hanging up for you to have a look at.
Whilst I'm getting dressed, John, I'm going to phone my sire.
Okay, not a problem. So you're contacting Romano Petrocelli, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so as the first time we've met Romano Petrocelli, tell us a bit about your sire. What's your sire like?
I'd say he's a deep-throated man.
Yep.
He's quite particular about the company he keeps.
Okay.
And as a prominent member of the mafioso, he's currently shoring up businesses within Europe.
Okay. So mafia shoring up business in Europe. And looking at the notes we've got here, I can see that Romano sort of sees himself as a parental figure to you, and you're sort of like the rebellious sort of like youngster. Would that be correct?
Yes, that's about right. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So you call the number of your sire, and a voice on the other end says, "This is Romano. Who is speaking?"
Sire, it is I, Sonia.
My child, why do you so rarely call? Have you forgotten your old sire? That is the trouble with you. You young kindred nowadays. No respect. But tell me, what is it that prompts you to call me at this hour?
I believe we've just encountered the Inquisition in Venice.
The church.
Yes.
It is not altogether unsurprising. When I heard of the recent family gathering that is to be taking place, I warned them that collecting us all in one place would bring unwanted attention. Even when we were feuding with each other, the reason we ended it was because there were so many external threats, and those threats have not ceased. I told them it would be dangerous getting us all together, but my voice was drowned out by those in their effort to sweep the old ways under the carpet and maintain this facade of family loyalty.
Well, I've just phoned to warn you to expect a possible company during the event. I wouldn't put it past them to have more than one team in the area.
Alas, I will not be attending the gathering. As you may or may not be aware, a number of my business associates recently have been arrested and incarcerated. I am currently gathering support from my resources, shall we say, to see what can be salvaged and who can be released. Unfortunately, it is business that has taken me to Europe, and I will not be back in time for the family gathering. However, in my absence, I give you license to speak for me at the event. This is not something to be taken lightly, my child. I'm aware of your rebellious streak. Consider this a test, if you will, to see if you are perhaps worthy of taking on greater responsibilities within our organization. Represent me well, and there may be better things for you in the future.
On this occasion, sire, I will do you proud.
I hope so. Is there anything else, my child?
No, it was just to warn you of the possible threats.
At which point you hear someone say something in the background you don't catch, and then you hear your sire talking to them in another language. You think maybe like French. You're not sure.
Okay.
And then obviously like has put the hand over the phone, turn around, talk to someone else, then comes back to you and says, "Very well then, my child. I will await another call from you after the gathering to inform me of what has transpired there. And hopefully,
I will get
as
a
I've
call
said,
too.
thank you. And hopefully, as I've said, better things, bigger things for you in the future.
Thank you, sire.
Be well, my child." And then, doot.
At this point, I'll probably have to call the shop assistant in to do the buttons or something on this dress, because I
Yeah.
didn't take multi-jointed as a merit.
Yeah, not a problem. You call Riolo back in, and the old Puttanescu man, Master Taylor, comes back in, and sort of looks at you and says, "Ah, a vision, a vision," and sort of holds his hands up, and
Thank
then
you.
says, I trust you are happy with the work that these humble hands have stitched and sewn in your honour, my lady."
I'm always happy,
Ah, splendid.
especially when the craftsmanship is done by family.
Of course, family is of great importance. You called me in. Is there anything I can assist, or you have questions?
If you could finish doing the buttons of this dress, please, so you can get your final measurements, that'd be fantastic.
Of course. He goes round the back, buttons up the dress, then takes out from his inside pocket a tape measure, takes a few measurements, and then says, "Yes, I think this will do nicely. Just a couple of dots required here, and then I believe we've done it. It shouldn't take me more than half a day, no more."
Excellent news. As we are family, I'm also going to warn you, there are Inquisition in the area.
He looks at you blankly. He says, I'm sorry."
They hunt your masters.
Well, I am. I'm not privileged enough to know the business of my masters, but I thank you greatly for the warning that you're providing. I will pass it on to my sponsors.
Thank you.
No, not at all. Thank you. And then he turns to, obviously, Aurelio and Franco. You've got your outfits as described, and he says, "And gentlemen, are you happy with your outfits? Do you mind if I take the last few measurements so we can get them finished up for you?"
Yeah, I like to think I've been here before.
Yeah, you probably have. In fact, you've probably got like a
Bit of
discount
money
card.
around. So, yeah, yes, my good man. If you can do the honours, I'll sort of hold my arms out.
Okay. He moves over and he's sort of going like that with the tape measure when you hear the doorbell in the front of the shop go again. He says, oh, my apologies, so just give me a few moments. And he walks back into the front of the shop, and you hear quite a sort of him having a conversation. It's fairly loud, so you can hear it with no problems. And he seems to be talking to quite a deep voiced man. And you hear this deep voiced man say, yes, I've come about the special outfit that I ordered. He says, yes, of course. It was difficult to meet your exact specifications, but if you just hold on a moment, it's in the back. I'll go and get it. And the voice says, yes, if you could be quick about it, I've got other things to do. Yes, of course. So he moves into the back room, which is where you guys are, heads over to where there's some other garment bags hanging on these rails. He takes a bag down, and as he's sort of moving past you guys to go back in the front, you can see that it appears to be a black dinner jacket, white shirt, a black top hat, set of white gloves similar to the ones that are in Yugo's outfit, and a shiny pair of black leather shoes. And he walks out to the front, and he says, here you go, Baron. These should meet your exacting specifications. And you hear the voice say, well, it all looks all right. Do you mind if I take a look inside? No, of course not. And then you hear him say, oh, obviously you can't see this through the back, but you hear him say, oh, do you mind? No, of course. The customer's wishes are always paramount at Riolo's. And then you hear what sounds like a cigarette lighter, and a few moments later you can smell cigarette smoke. A couple of seconds pass where not much is said. Then you hear him say, yes, that seems most satisfactory. And you hear Riolo say, how would you like to pay for this, Baron? Would you like to pay via card? And there's a loud, deep, booming laugh. And he says, no, cash, always cash. And you hear what sounds to you like a bag of heavy coins, so being thunked down on a hard surface. And he says, that should be more than enough to cover the cost of this. I don't really keep track of this sort of thing, but thank you for your work, Master Putanescu. I'm sure I shall be the belle of the ball in this outfit. And again, there's another sort of deep throaty laugh. He takes you hear the sound of the garment bag as it's being passed over, and then you hear Riolo said, oh, not at all, sir, of course, family is incredibly important to me. I hope the outfit brings you joy, and you enjoy the gathering that's taking place. I'm sure I will, Master Putanescu, and your work, as always, is exceptional. Would you like one? No. Thank you for the offer. Baron, but no, that's fine. Well, in which case, I shall leave you to your business. Thank you again, Master Putanescu. Good evening to you. And then you hear footsteps heading towards the door. There's the tinkle of the bell. Door shuts again. After a few moments, Riolo Putanescu comes back into the back room, and he says, oh, sorry about that, sir. He says to you, Franco, another customer. Now, where were we? He takes out the measurement. He takes all the measurement, and he's like, yes, that should be fine. He looks over at you, Aurelio, and says, do you mind if I...
Please.
He does the same on you, takes the measurements, and he says, yes, as I was saying to your charming friend there, and he gestures at Sonia, it should take me no more than half a day to make the last couple of alterations to these outfits, and they should be ready. Your friend is not here, he says, gesturing at the bag that contains Hugo's garments.
Yeah, he had to attend to another matter, so he asked us to pick it up in his absence.
He says, well, I will of course leave the matter to yourself. I'm sure that my measurements, the visual measurements that I took, are 99% accurate. Obviously, I would as a tailor, I would prefer to have taken the last measurements more exactly, as I've done with yourselves. But it is up to you. Either your friend can visit me here on another occasion, or you can take it now. Like I say, it is perfectly wearable. It may not be quite as excuse the phrase, figure hugging, but it's still the work of a master tailor, if I do say so myself. It's up to you. Do you want to take the garment with you now, or would you think your friend would like it?
I certainly trust your work.
Oh,
I shall take
thank
it.
you, sir.
I shall take it, and if there's any major alterations required, then he can always stop by. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Oh well, of course, it is there in the garment bag with your friend's name on it. Please feel free to. Obviously, I know you. I know, sir, as a long and valued customer of our establishment, of course. I know that you've already paid for all of this, so that is fine. Feel free to take your friend's garment, and if you return tomorrow evening, I will have the final alterations made to all of yours, and then of course you can collect when suits you most.
Thank you.
Oh, not at all. It's my pleasure. As you say, family is important.
Right, we shall leave you alone. Excellent work. I look forward to the final fitting tomorrow.
You are too kind, my lady. You're too kind.
And with that, I'll just head towards the door.
Okay, not a problem. You leave Riolo's. As you leave, you can see sort of down the street, this person who was previously in there appears to be a dark-skinned man wearing a fairly smart suit. He appears to have like taken his suit out of the document garment bag and appears to have like put the suit on. He's now got this top hat on. You can see him sort of stood under a street lamp. He's holding like a big sort of fat like Winston Churchill style cigar in his hands, and he's just sort of like there's a light drizzle falling by now, and he's sort of leant over covering it with his hand while he's like flicking a lighter with his thumb. And after a few moments you see this like red coal light up at the end of it as he takes a drag on this big cigar and blows out a voluminous cloud of smoke.
Is he recognisable, this, to any of us?
Probably not to yourself. Perhaps to Sonia and Aurelio. Do you have any backgrounds or abilities that would enable you to like know other Hecata or other clan members? Or to be fair, Franco, if you've got any abilities that might let you know like other vampires or anything like that, or backgrounds or anything like that.
Probably know he's a vampire, but other than that,
No, I've got nothing.
I've got a dot of status with the Hecata.
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest, probably a little bit unorthodox this, but hey, if you make me a wits roll, but you can add 1 dice to it to represent your status. We'll see how many successes you get, Aurelio. And if you get a decent number, you might vaguely recall something about this going.
Wits, was it?
Yeah, wits +1.
Oh. Oh, no.
Double wits. To be fair, that is what you're supposed to do when you make just a roll based on an attribute, so that's fine.
Right. Okay, well, there we go.
Okay. So you don't recognise him personally. Like I say, he just appears to be a large, dark-skinned man, bald head, top hat, black suit, gloves, smoking a big cigar. However, you did hear him referred to as the Baron in the shop, and you know that amongst one of the extant lines of the Hecata, one of the old lines known as the Samadi, who basically fled the Giovanni persecution. They fled to like Haiti and areas like that. Allegedly, they have either a a powerful spirit or a vampire. No one seems sure. Called the Baron, who was like the top dog of that bloodline, who was responsible for getting them all to safety and sort of integrating them into like Haitian society. But no one's exactly sure like what he is. When you speak to some people, they're like, oh, he's like a voodoo lover, some sort of like demigod. Others are like, oh, he's just like a wraith, a powerful wraith. Others are like, oh, he's just like an older vampire. No one really seems to know. His origins are a bit sort of shrouded in mystery. And like even like descriptions of him tend to vary a little bit. And you would know, given as a result of your 5 successes, that before the consolidation of the Hecata, all of the Samadi were marked with sort of like skeletal or like rotting corpse-like faces, in a vaguely similar way to some of the kindred who were a bit more nearer to yourself, shall we say. But they resemble sort of like rotted, like bloated corpses, whereas since the consolidation of the Hecata, they no longer seem to suffer from that weakness. Although some of them do still maintain it, but it's not a universal thing. And this guy certainly doesn't look like a skeletal corpse. He's like I say, it's just like a dark-skinned bald man in a sharp suit.
Mm-hmm. I'll elbow Sonia and says,
I think this one's family.
I'll try and make an introduction then. And with that, John, I shall set off down the street to find this man.
Yeah, he's like I say, he's basically leaning up against the lamppost, sort of smoking his big cigar. As you get nearer, you can just see what looks to be like the edge of like a bottle, like poking out from the inside of his the inside pocket of his jacket. As you walk over, are you saying anything as you walk up?
Yeah, I'll go. Excuse me, sir.
He turns around and he sees you, smiles, and as you sort of get in, there's like a scent of like rum and like tobacco that seems to like fill the air around him. He smiles at you and he says, "Well, aren't you a pretty thing?"
Thank you, sir. I have been reliably informed that we may be related.
He peers at you for a few moments, then he says, "Well, I think we just might be."
So, as I have been given such a prestigious power by my sire today, I must warn you of the church in the area.
He laughs and he says, "The church?"
Yes, the hunters.
Oh, I see. He says, "Well, it's hardly surprising, is it, given where we are and what's going on?"
Not exactly, but as your family, I would find it in my best interest to ensure that you are also informed.
I very much appreciate that, child. He says, "Trust the fucking church to make an already complicated situation even more complicated." And at which point he takes the bottle out from his coat. You can see there's like a red liquid inside it. He unscrews the cap. It's like a rum bottle. He takes a swig of it, and then he sort of holds it out to you.
Yeah, probably quite low down as well.
Yeah, he's pretty tall, so he sort of holds it down
Yeah,
to
it's
you.
a good size comparison. I'll take a drink.
Yeah, you take a swig of it. It's blood. It's obviously blood from someone who's drank like an awful lot of alcohol. You would guess mostly rum by like the sort of taste and flavour you're getting off the blood. He smiles and says, that'll warm your cold, dead heart on a night like this. And he sort of looks around and breathes out a cloud of smoke. Now, while this is going on, what are Aurelio and Franco doing?
I'm sort of trying to listen in.
Well, yeah,
From a
this guy's
distance.
pretty loud. You can
Yeah.
hear him. It's not a problem.
Yeah, but I don't want to be like within the I don't know. So he doesn't see me close up. I just still a bit wary after my visit to the underwater zone of some of the Hikaru. So yeah, I'm just trying to listen in if I can hear anything that might be useful for the gathering
Yep, not a problem.
information, etc.
How about yourself, Aurelia?
I guess just observing from a distance. Not
Okay.
sure what's the deal. What's the deal with this guy? And also absent-mindedly pondering that I should be elsewhere, probably doing a bit of ritual work.
Okay. So, Sonia, the Baron, says, "I take it you're attending this family gathering, then?"
I will be, sir. Yes.
Ah, splendid, splendid. It's good to know it won't all be stuffy old Giovanni and Cappadocians sat around debating matters that should have been dead hundreds of years ago. No pun intended. He says, "Yes, to be honest, I was thinking about skipping the matter entirely, but some of the younger members of my line are very keen to that the reconciliation efforts in our family should succeed. So, in order to keep them happy, I've recently flown in. Not really my thing. These sort of these longer family gatherings, and these a little bit too much like a business meeting, if you ask me.
Unfortunately, so.
But we will see what we see there. Hopefully, they're going to, as well as all this rot about the family reunion consolidation of the Hikata. Hopefully, they're finally going to get round to decide to do something about the promise. That's mainly why I'm here.
I can hope they'll finally look into that issue.
Indeed. Well, I can appreciate the difficulties given how difficult it is to pin down any details about that particular agreement. But we really should start looking at it sooner rather than later. And I managed to winkle out a few choice facts of my own that I might throw in, just to see what the family make of it, stir the pot, so to speak.
I look most interested in hearing them. Perhaps I could escort you.
Why, yes, normally I would have brought one of my wives with me, but we didn't want to risk moving all of the line. I would be more than happy to be escorted by yourself.
Excellent. I will have Franco, Aurelio, and Hugo. So we should be able to provide ample support for you.
Splendid, splendid. Well, if you should ever find yourself at I'm sorry, well, what is your name, child?
Sonia Melee.
Ah, yes, you're Romano's child, aren't you?
That is correct, sir.
Well, if you should ever desire to slip the bonds of the stuffy traditionalists amongst our kind, I always have room for more wives.
Most kind.
Not at all, not at all. And he reaches inside his jacket, takes out a cigar case, sort of flips it open. You see all these like sort of Havana style cigars in there. Holds the tray out to you.
I'll take a cigar here.
He lights it for you, takes a chuff on his own, and says, "Well, I will leave you to your business, Sonia. I look for. If you are escorting me to the gathering, is there a place where I might call on you at the appointed hour?"
Of course. And I will give him the address.
Okay, so where are you planning for the Baron to meet you?
Let's see. Let's look at the old map. Where's the meeting taking place?
Okay, the meeting is taking place in... Let me just find the thing for it. It's taking place in the Ristorante alla Corone in San Marco. So, down here.
Yeah.
And it's basically on the edge of the canal. It's a restaurant that backs directly onto the canal.
In that case, then we'll go for a meeting at the Rosa di Espada in
Okay.
Rialto.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, so the Baron wishes you well and then departs.
Well, good job well done there, I'll say to Aurelio. We're going to escort the Baron.
To where?
To the family gathering.
So you're getting quite a little group together because you've got the Nosferatu representative going with you as well. A right little posse to roll in there.
Wonderful.
He seemed most worried about the promise.
Okay.
I wonder why. Well, not much to be done unless the people with the big shoes make some moves, I suppose.
That's what he's aiming for.
Okay. So whilst all this is going on, obviously you have headed back to the communal haven. You're taking Raiden Scott with you. You get back there. You arrange for your retainer to start feeding him. You check him over. You don't think he's in any more immediate danger. He basically just needs time and blood to recover, but it will take him some time.
Yeah, and then I think I'm also very badly injured, so I'll just try and start feeding and also feeding off my retainer and trying to recover.
Okay, not a problem. Obviously, Valerie Reyes, the other injured anarch, is also at your communal haven. So obviously, she went there seeking help from you guys. She's overjoyed to see Raiden. She tries getting a bit of information out of him about what happened to their other missing member, Damien Campbell, but obviously he's in no condition to tell her, and she's pretty much sort of helping your retainer to look after him, because although she is she's a little bit injured, but nowhere near as badly as him.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think I'm the same. I'm a little quite badly injured, so I kind of want to just do a little bit of feeding and a little bit of healing and just kind of relax.
Okay, yeah, not a problem. And you do indeed relax and you begin to start your healing. So I'm just going to have a look at see if I've got any the rules of healing written down. Don't appear to have, but I will look that up later. So Does anyone else have anything they wish to do this evening? Otherwise, as I suggested previously, we'll sort of speed ahead a little bit.
I'm pretty much done. I think the only thing I could think of was your laptops being hacked.
Yeah, but I think I'm waiting for him.
Yeah,
On
he
that, and
basically
I
said he'd
sort
call
of-
you when he'd managed, if and when he'd managed to get into the other laptops.
So yeah, I think a retreat to Haven is probably.
Okay, not a problem. So I'm going to say that 2 nights have passed. So we would now be on the 7th of January, the Saturday, which is 2 days before the gathering is due to take place. I'm going to say that obviously you'll have all had opportunity to feed, so you can all knock your hunger down to 1 if you so wish, because you will have had plenty of opportunity to feed. I am, however, once you've knocked your humanity down to 1, I am going to ask you all to make a single arouse check, just to see if it fluctuates. I'm going to make 1 check. Okay.
Oh,
So, a couple of days later, Aurelio, you're out to your personal haven, like say, doing some of your ritual stuff, preparing yourself, etc. When you notice the temperature in the room begins to drop, and you see a familiar conglomeration of shadows gathering in the corner of the room, and you recognize the telltale presence of those who were taken too soon by God, the conglomeration, the conjoined spirit that you have bound by ritual art to serve you. And as it solidifies, you hear the sort of whispered, hissing voice of the spectre saying, "I have been watching the place you designated.
And
Your people are preparing enchantments and wards around the location to bar the passage of my kind. They are not yet active, but they have nearly completed their preparation. I have also seen several of your kind lurking below the waters, observing the same location. Also, a group of humans who seem to be
Dinner?
observing the building.
Yeah. Cook some chicken up. I need to just do some.
I would say that you hasten back and cross the threshold and remain there until such a time that myself and my compatriots arrive, so that you will be beyond the wards when they finish.
Very well, although once the wards are erected, I may not be able to leave. If that is what you wish." And immediately you feel the presence start to recede, and the shadows start returning to normal. The temperature rises a bit as the spectral presence withdraws. Okay,
And
so
now Aurelius just crossing his fingers that the completion of the wards doesn't expose the wraith from inside.
indeed, in the time that has passed, Hugo, your outfit for the Hecata gathering has been delivered to you. As we said, it's this blue-grey suit with a white shirt, and dinner gloves. If you wish, during the 2 days that have passed, you can have visited Riolo's and got your fitting, etc. So it's all snug. Not a problem.
yeah, I think I'd have done that.
Yep, no problem at all. He's delighted to see you. He takes all the measurements, does it very quickly. Within that same period of time, the rest of you will pick up your outfits as well. the final alterations having been made to them. Okay, so it's 2 days before the Hecata gathering is due to take place. Is there anything you guys want to do prior to that?
Probably food.
All I was going to say is I was meant to be getting some security stuff for our haven, like some cameras or something from the laptop guy. I can't remember if we
Security cameras. Yeah, we can easily say you've sorted that out over the 2 days. Obviously, the money's not an issue for you. So yeah, you've set up. You start setting security cameras up outside, or you set them up inside the haven as well?
Yeah, I'll do inside as well. I'll get some sort of 8-camera system or something, and
So you can't go full Nosferatu camera system.
yeah, get it linked up to whoever's got the best mobile or something to identify.
Okay, so
log in and sort of check it out.
Yeah, so not a problem. You can, I'll say, to be honest, like you can set it up so you can all check it on your mobile if you wish. That's not a problem. Because obviously you're rich as anything, so you can buy like top of the line stuff. In terms of the cameras, do they like record footage, or is it just like a live link? If you want them to record stuff, where do you want that to be stored? Like you're gonna have like a computer in your haven or something like that?
Yeah, I think I'd probably want it. I don't want it. Yeah, I mean, I'd have it local. I think. Yeah, I don't know if I'd trust anyone enough to store the information somewhere else. So yeah, I'll have it sort of set up so it's into the loft area. It's storing onto a hard drive up there, and just every couple of weeks it'll just overwrite if we haven't done anything with it, sort of thing.
Okay, not a problem.
And I will ask him obviously about the laptops while I'm there.
He tells you he's still working on it, as he, in his sort of excitable way, he reaffirms again that it's like next level encryption, and he's still sort of trying to like work his way through it. He says he's made some progress, but he says there's multiple layers of security on each of the laptop. Okay. Obviously, whoever this guy was who was investigating this strange sort of online puzzle really didn't want other people getting into it, and he does say that looking through some of the online correspondence from the couple of laptops he did manage to get into, it's clear that this guy and like his sort of little online group weren't the only groups online that were trying to solve it. There's quite a bit of like competitiveness between these various anonymous groups of people online all trying to solve this puzzle.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do there now, guys, is we're going to call a quick 5-minute break, or go and grab a drink, etc., use the facilities. We'll come back in 5 minutes and see what you guys want to do next. Okay, back in 5.
Yep.
Let's wait for the others to get back.
Yeah. Ooh. Glad that priest is gone.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, that reminds me, I'm going to see if I can look up the rules on healing while we're waiting.
I think I found that it's 1 point per day, 1 point per night. It's on page 127.
Yeah, I'll just find it in the index. 127. There we go. Healing. Yeah, aggravated damage. Yeah, vampires command 1 level of aggravated health damage each night by rousing the blood. So each night, in addition to, if you want to heal an aggravated damage, in addition to your roll to wake up, you have to rouse the blood to heal that aggravated damage. So we've effectively had 2 nights. So if you, and I believe it was Sonia, also took some aggravated damage. If you guys want to make, you can make up to 2 rolls for that.
Okay.
Okay, so you still heal, but your hunger's gone up. So you've healed 1 ag, so you get another 1. Okay, so you've healed 2 of your aggravated damage.
Okay.
And yet you've healed yours, Sonia, but obviously also your hunger's gone up by 1 as well. Okay, so we'll wait for Giannis to get back and then we'll crack on.
I need to feed John.
Okay, not a problem. So we can sort that out now. So what sort of feeding method are you using?
Same as last time, I'll get a professional that's into the BDSM scene and go and feed on them, because I've got to beat them about a bit.
Okay, and whereabouts are you planning? What sort of area are you planning on feeding in?
Well, I'll do it privately, so I'll book a hotel room and...
So we say that a slightly more respectable area of the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a problem. So, let's see, you effectively... So it's manipulation plus persuasion for the method you're using.
That's 2 manipulations. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. And I'm going to ask Darren, can you please roll me a D50?
Eight.
Okay. So randomly, the person who turns up, who you feed on, Sonia, is obviously into this scene because of how you've organised it. But there's a little bit of chit chat before the feeding. You find out the person you're feeding on actually lives in Tronchetto, which, if you remember, is the only district you can drive motor vehicles in legally in Venice.
Yep.
And it turns out that this person is one of the few bus drivers in Tronchetto. But yeah, how much are you planning on feeding on them?
What's the safe limit?
Okay, the most sort of non-harmful drink you can do is you can lower your hunger by 2.
I'll do that then. That'll take me down to 1.
Yep, not a problem. So yeah, so you feed on this this bus driver who's sort of like obviously like doing a bit of moonlighting in the scene, so to speak. And yeah, you head on your way with relatively little incident.
I'll do it as well, John. That's okay.
What method do you want to use to feed by?
I am an alley cat predator type, so I'm presuming that's more of a
That strength brawl, grab someone, drag them into
yeah.
feed on them. Yeah,
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Robbery gone wrong.
So make your roll, and I'm going to ask you, Johannes, can you please roll me a d50?
Okay, so this is a brawl roll, is it?
It's a strength brawl, yeah.
Strength brawl, okay.
It's a 10.
Okay, yep, not a problem. So it's not a bestial failure because you've got a success, which is all you need.
Okay.
So since you're just grabbing someone, you're in one of the like slummier areas of the city.
Yeah.
So you're sort of lurking around, and there's some dark alleyways on one of these evenings, and you see what appears to be maybe like a construction worker. You know, he's got like the hard hat and the like on. Obviously, with Venice slowly sort of sliding into the waters, there's a lot of construction and shoring up foundations and stuff like that, seemingly constantly on the go in the city. So it's not unusual to see a fair old amount of construction workers going along. You can see like this one's obviously like knocked off his shift. He appears to have been like drinking a little bit. You know, he's just sort of like, I suppose, shadowing him a little bit. You know, you can smell the hooch on his breath, and he walks past the mouth of the alleyway that you're lurking in, and you just like grab him and drag him into the alleyway.
Okay. And I'll again heal, or I'll feed for 2 points of hunger.
Okay, not a problem. You take the maximum amount of blood you can from this guy. He'll be feeling a bit woozy, but he won't be harmed by it. However, for the rest of this evening, you are going to be at a -1 to your dex and intelligence because of the amount of alcohol in the guy's system, which obviously affects his blood. But yeah, the blood is perfectly nourishing, and you feel your hunger abate, and you leave him sort of half passed out, like deliriously sort of lying amidst like the trash and the rubble in this alleyway, and you disappear off into the night with relatively little incident.
Right, and it's like dex and intelligence, you said?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, now as you're making your way down through the various alleyways and crossing the bridges, etc., returning to the communal haven, a young woman approaches you, Hugo, and presses a leaflet, a piece of paper, into your hands, and then says, "Oh, excuse me, sir." Not like sort of pushing it to you, but you know, it's like passes it to you, and then says, "Excuse me, sir. Do you have a few moments to talk about the Church of Bodily Ascension?"
The Church of Bodily Ascension?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, she seems like quite shocked that someone's like, "Yeah, I'll talk to you about it." Obviously, like a lot of sort of salespeople in inverted commas, she's probably been getting like the runaround. She's a little bit taken aback, and she says, "Oh, splendid. Well, yes, the Church of Bodily Ascension. Although we're a small sort of new faith, we believe that if you are faithful enough and pure, that the very hand of heaven itself can reach down and pluck those who you love, who are injured, who may be suffering, and bodily lift them into heaven, sparing them pain and sparing you loss. Isn't that a wonderful idea?"
Yes, that sounds truly wonderful.
Well, if you are interested, we're actually planning on having one of our meetings in a few days' time. The details are all on the pamphlet I gave you.
Oh yes, thank you very much. I
Yes,
will
we'd
consider it and see if I'm free.
yes, we'd love for you to come along, and the address is on there, and it's taking place in the Dussadoro district. Like I say, the address is on the pamphlet. It'd be lovely if you could come along.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
Oh well, thank you, sir. Thank you, and I hope you have a very pleasant evening.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much. And I'll take the leaflet in.
Okay, not a problem. And she heads off on her way.
What date was the meeting?
The meeting is the 11th, so it is the Wednesday, so it's 2 days after the Hikata meeting.
Okay.
Like I say, it's in Dussadoro, which is down here. Okay, and then you continue to the communal haven, where I would say, for convenience sake, you are all gathered. Obviously, feel free to discuss amongst yourself if there's anything else you wish to do prior to the Hikata gathering. Obviously, because we're getting on a bit, we're not going to cover the Hikata gathering this evening. My plan will be to start, unless anything else happens that runs over, will be to start the Hikata gathering at the start of next session. Just sort of let you know that in advance. We've got a bit more time to sort of explore that rather than trying to cram it in at the end. But you're all met up in the communal haven. Feel free to discuss if there's anything else you wish to do.
Do we have a plan for the gathering? We're just going to go and see what happens, or
Yeah, we're going to escort the Baron and the
okay,
Nosferatu entourage.
okay,
So that's quite an undertaking, really.
okay,
So we should definitely enter the room with enough eyes on us.
okay. And then Nosferatu they're the undersea guys, are they? What's their? How are they related to the Hecata?
They're the hobbitses.
Been
They
hiding.
they want to make peace, or
Or at least some of them do.
historically they were not on good terms with the the Giovanni.
Okay. And the Hecata and the Giovanni are the same,
That
kind of?
the Giovanni would be the most numerous current Hecata,
Okay,
the most populous of the family.
okay,
Would say that the younger members of the Nosferatu are potentially troublemakers and may try and stir things up now they know where the meeting is. It was the elder that was keen on sort of the more peaceful option. So we still need to keep our eyes open for that
Yes,
eventuality.
I'm being told that there are observers of the meeting location mucking about in the water. I presume there's only one kind of visitor that could be. Not quite sure what the end result of all this will be.
Pandemonium.
Do you think I'm in any danger by being there?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Everyone is. It's a table of ostensible family where everyone came with an extra knife that they keep behind their backs, and it's not going to be steak that's going to get cut.
Talking of knives, should I be bringing some sort of weapon?
I wouldn't.
Is that done at these things?
Well,
As far as it goes, they've offered hospitality, so I would expect them to live up to some degree of that hospitality for an undetermined amount of time.
if trouble comes, it's probably not going to come from the organizers themselves.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we will be entirely safe with the organizers when trouble kicks off. They will not start it, though.
It seems we must have our wits about us.
Not quite sure what can be done about any brethren of yours that are laying in, not in ambush, but reserve nearby. Not much, I guess, but they are there. I know this already.
So expect a hornet's nest.
And what is, like you guys said, what do you think the purpose of this meeting is? If everything went to plan, if everything went smoothly, what?
If everything goes smoothly, then legends tell of a wonderful paradise. But
I think
Everyone
think we
goes
should
together.
definitely, but it's not going to end well.
no, as far as the agenda goes, I think there's going to be airing of various grievances as usual, and then I suppose some will be bringing forward issues that are more broad. The Baron, as it were, was hinting at something called a promise, which is a very esoteric concept. We'll not go into too much detail, but that is something that is not just the Baron's issue. That is something that I would say affects the entirety of Venice to a degree. So things like that brought to debate, I would expect.
How often do these sort of meetings take place?
When necessary, when someone calls for them. I understand there was a little bit more structure in the days gone by, but those were the days before the Hecata, when there was only the Giovanni. Well, I say only, but mostly. So someone's calling this, and they will have, I would expect, a thing or two of great importance to put forward to the debate or to state things. That's what I would expect.
And what is the etiquette for weapons and explosives?
Don't bring a rifle, but otherwise I would think that it would be considered somewhat rude if they did not discover at least one weapon on you.
Okay.
I love that. What's the etiquette for weapons and explosives?
I would say don't annoy. Don't go looking to provoke. If you turn up armed to the teeth, I'm sure they have a very quick and very valid response to that.
If you bring something, make sure you can put it in a pocket away from sight very easily.
As you're all talking, you hear a soft sort of cough, and you look around and see Valerie Reyes, who has been obviously staying at your sort of communal haven during her recovery, and she says, "Oh, I'm very, very sorry to interrupt your conversation, but I think Raiden's now recovered sufficiently that he can talk, although his voice is still a little croaky, but he seems to be on the mend. I know you were trying to talk to him. She obviously nods at you. You go, I think he should now be able to respond.
Okay. Has he said anything about where Damien is?
No, at least not to me.
Okay. Well, let's go and ask him. So I presume he's lying down, so I'll kind of sit down beside him and
Yeah, you can see like he's still got some wounds on his face, but like a lot of his sort of flesh is like knit back together.
It's good to see you on the mend.
Thank you.
We still haven't found Damien. Can you tell us where you last seen him?
He says, well, as I'm sure Valerie has told you, when we were taken by surprise in the water taxi, a struggle broke out. We were with the effects of whatever drugs are in the blood that we drank. We were incapacitated. I had a bag of some kind put over my head. I heard Damien struggling, but I didn't hear anything more. I was taken to it looked like a warehouse or a fairly empty building, and I was questioned at length. So they were trying to find out all about how many other kindred I knew, if I could give them any locations. Obviously, I didn't give them any information. They had, well, I don't know what it was. Where you saw it, the liquid they splashed on me. It almost, I mean, I saw it splash on them. It didn't seem to do them any harm, but it burnt me like it was acid or fire. I think when they realised they weren't going to get any information out of me, they decided to use me to see if they could provoke other kindred into coming forward. And well, you saw when that didn't work. I think if it hadn't been for the intervention of yourselves, they would have no doubt just finished me off.
And does everyone, all three of these people, know where our communal haven is?
The tourists, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think Damien will tell them of our haven and the other havens, the other secrets that he knows?
He says, well, I shouldn't think so. He's incredibly tougher, far tougher than myself. And if anyone could give them the slip, he's as a member of Clan Gangrel, he's quite proficient in some of their abilities. If anyone could get away from them, it would be him.
Okay. And where would he go if he could get away, do you think?
Well, he has the capability. Well, I've seen him do it. He has the capability to transform himself into the likeness of a large domestic cat. From what I know of his history before he joined us, he pretty much had to rely on himself. I would guess he's a pretty private person, all told, but I would guess he's probably gone to ground somewhere. If he did manage to get away from them, he'd probably lie low for a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Well, get yourself some rest, and hopefully he has evaded his captors.
He sort of like gently puts a hand on your arm and he says, and again, my thanks to yourself and all of your companions. If once I've regained my strength, if there's anything I can do to repay you all for what you've done for myself and Valerie, but please just ask. And he seems,
we all have to work together.
He seems surprisingly serious, unlike his normal like fun time anarch party guy, where he's just like, I've had half my face melted off, and it's been a bit of a rough ride, but yeah, his eyes are genuinely full of gratitude.
Okay, so we leave him. I will, I guess, come back to the party and explain that Damien is still MIA. He does know where our communal haven is, and he might need to be a little bit cautious. Should we have we heard from the other coterie recently?
The artist Della Destino. No, you've not heard
Yeah.
from them recently, no.
I guess we should probably go and check in with them and let them know what's happening to be on the lookout for Inquisition type people. They're nearby as well, are they, John?
Yes, they are. Yeah. So
Okay.
to cut along story, you pay a visit to them. Their leader, Serafino Vario, who is this sort of quite jaded member of the Toreador clan. She greets you, welcomes you to their haven. Says, please come in. Antonio and Romeo are away on business at the moment, but I'm holding down the fort, such as it is. If you, it looks like you've got some serious business on your mind. If you'd like to sit down and tell me what troubles you. And as you're sort of heading into the haven, literally like waves of calm, and I suppose you could call it like good vibes, sort of like wash off her, which anyone who has any experience of the vampiric power presence will know that like that's what it is. It's not like mind control or anything like that. It's just like she exudes an aura of calm and sort of peacefulness that sort of rolls off her.
So yeah, I'll just very briefly explain that the tourists were attacked by the Inquisition. That we have rescued 2 of them and slain a priest and a number of his henchmen. But that one of them hasn't been recovered, and since that he knows where many of the havens are, just to be on the lookout for priests and strangers, and I guess we should agree to stay in touch on the text each other regularly and make sure that no one goes missing.
Well, thank you for telling this us, and of course, if there's anything we can do, obviously let us know. Although I can't say I'm surprised that and her face sort of like her nose sort of like crinkles a little bit. The anarchs have got themselves into trouble. Their incautious, shall we say, to be charitable lifestyle was bound to lead to trouble sooner or later. It's why the Camarilla are long cleaved to the tradition of the masquerade. After all, whilst there can be no doubt that we are physically and mentally superior to the kind, to the mortals, there are far more of them than there are of us. They can walk around in the daytime and we cannot, and they have technologies that some of us barely understand. It's only a matter of time before someone who, shall we say, lives a life on the edge as the tourists do, finds themselves in a spot of hot water.
Indeed. Yeah, so I think we all need to just be on the lookout for strangers.
Of course, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. Of course, I'll let Antonio and Romeo know when they return to the haven. Is there anything else you need from me?
No, I think it was just to make sure that you were safe and that you were warned.
Okay, yep, she lays a hand on your arm and she says, well, isn't that terribly kind and sweet of you? And at this point, I'm going to ask, can you make me a composure plus wits roll?
Composure and wits are both attributes. Is
Yep, that's right.
that so how do I click on
So
one and do the
you
other?
click on one of them, and then you can
Select
select
the
the
other,
other.
Rolling wits with composure. Sorry.
That's all right, no problems.
Okay, that is pretty poor. That's one success.
Okay, not a problem. Let me make a roll. Okay, so just to clue you in on a sort of game level, the ability known as entrancement, which is a presence-based power, has just been used on you. It can instill a rapt fascination or infatuation akin to falling in love or meeting one's lifelong idol. The effects last for roughly 1 hour per 1 point of the margin on the win, so it'll be 4 hours for yourself.
Okay.
Basically, if she tries doing anything involving like social pulls to you, she'll get like a massive bonus. But you, as I described there, you feel incredibly well disposed towards this vampire. I'll obviously leave that to yourself to role play. It doesn't really have any like dice mechanics or anything like that. It's just role play. But I say you feel like this incredibly beautiful Toreador is a, like you say, you get the feeling almost like you're sort of becoming infatuated, like slightly falling in love with this person. But the stronger feelings only really last for like 4 hours in this case. But yes, she lays a hand on your arm and says, "Well, isn't that terribly kind and sweet of you? It does my cold heart good to know that there are still kindred out there who care for their comrades and their companions even in a city such as this.
Well, you're too kind.
Oh no, not at all, my dear fellow. I'm assuming the rest of you are there while this is going on. But yeah, they seem to be having like quite a nice friendly chat, getting quite close with each other. He says, yes, I often think that's the trouble with cities like this, where there's no sort of real strong structure or ties that bind kindred together. I know the Hikata have their sort of sense of family, so to speak, but it only really extends to their own kind, whereas the strength, as far as I'm concerned, certainly back in the old days, lamentably not so much now, is that if the Camarilla is that everyone knew their place within it, and the network of favours and relationships that maintained the presence of the Camarilla meant that everyone knew who they could rely on, who their friends were and who their enemies were. Whereas things nowadays seem to have got so muddled and so confusing. I often think it's a miracle there haven't been far more breaches of the masquerade in these modern nights than there have been.
You're so wise.
It's terribly, terribly sweet of you to say so. And obviously, any of you guys who are watching now will probably get the feeling that like Hugo's not really behaving like his normal self, where he's sort of like gazing lovingly at this woman and be like, "Oh, you're so wise." He said, "Oh, you say the nicest things," which isn't really how Hugo behaves generally.
So is there any way of detecting it or not? Is that something?
Unless you've got an ability that allows you to detect like discipline use, which I don't know if there is one.
Oh, okay.
But obviously you can observe the effects, and it's pretty clear that they're getting quite close. She's been speaking to him quite calmly, and he seems to be becoming like increasingly infatuated with her, although he's not sort of like endangering himself or doing anything that's like causing any issues, but he's definitely sort of acting out of character.
Hugo, it's time to go.
Yes, fair lady. we have to go. We have business to see to, but perhaps I should call again and
Oh,
we could spend more time together.
that would be delightful. You are, of course, welcome any time. Like I say, it's so rare I get to step outside the troubles of my own coterie and converse with a kind young gentleman like yourself. Please feel free to visit any time.
I will. I look forward to it.
As do I. And she makes no attempt to prevent you from leaving or anything like that, so you can.
Come on, Casanova.
I suppose as we depart, then I'll be the last one to close the door. I'll just go,
God be with you.
You hear like a sort of feminine laughter from inside and says, "Well, I appreciate the sentiment," and then the door shuts.
I'll mutter, not necessarily projecting the voice a lot, but I just mutter this like,
You have no choice.
and I close the door.
Okay, no problems. And you all.
What was her name again, John?
Her name is Serafina Vario. Just give me a second. I will post it in the chat on Zoom.
That classic love story. It's like, oh, you're so wise. What's your name again? who are you?
Hey, love doesn't need a name.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a one night thing, remember?
Yep. Although if you use it continuously on people, it does get progressively easier to use it on them. Hence the whole oh yeah, you must come back and visit sometime, so I can use presents on you again.
And do I know I've been stitched up now afterwards, or is it I just have this positive goodwill towards her?
You do have this positive goodwill towards her, and you won't, when the sort of 4 hours elapses, you won't instantly be like, I've had some vampire power used on me. But you will notice as the evening goes on, the sort of feelings that you had that were very sort of fiery and very potent at the time, they will slowly start to sort of ebb away until you're probably oh yeah, she just seemed, well, whatever your thoughts were before, oh, she was friendly enough, but nothing special. So you might infer from that when you look back, you might be like, oh yeah, I was properly besotted with her at the time, and now not so much. So it's pretty reasonable you could probably infer that, and you already knew before she did that there were these waves of calm sort of washing off her. You might not know she's used an active power on you, but you could easily infer that oh, she had some sort of influence.
Okay.
Okay, so as we're getting near to the end of the session now, is there anything else you guys want to do on the sort of eve of the Hikata gathering?
The only thing I was going to do is look up the possibility of getting a secondary haven.
Okay. What sort of thing were you thinking about?
Just something basic, so we just need a defensible position, basically.
Okay. Do you have the resources for that?
Well, that's why I'm looking into it. I'm not actually going to do it. I'm going to get all the prices and spec together.
We've got sort of secondary, sort of private havens, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got one that I don't use at the moment, and I think, yeah, you go.
I have one for my rifles.
He's got his gun locker.
Yeah.
And obviously, Aurelio's got his centre for the dark arts.
It's the literal corpse locker.
Yeah.
With me and the other corpses.
So, I think if you were just trying to look to buy a small sort of domicile in one of the rougher, sort of more run-down areas of Venice, that wouldn't be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not exactly in high demand. If it's in one of the more affluent areas of Venice, obviously then it becomes progressively more difficult. particularly if you get sort of nearer to the sort of central heart of Venice and the sort of more touristy areas, the prices are a lot higher. But in a lot
Oh
of the
no, I was
old,
gonna definitely be like the outskirts.
yeah, that's fine. You can easily, if like I say, if you've got like some resources, you can easily get a hold of a small sort of like one floor like property or something like that, like a small like a flat basically. And by looking at that, effectively, you can now put some of your XP if you want into that background, that advantage to
Yep.
get yourself like some other people have done, to get yourself a secondary haven. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I'm going to suggest we wrap up here.
One more
sorry,
thing.
Go ahead.
Just one more thing as the credits start to roll, I guess.
All right, Columbo.
Riddle me this, John. As I let oblivion wash over my eyes and turn everything a little bit gray, in, I suppose, like the security of my corpse locker, is the sword an object to which any spirits might be tied to as a fetter?
No.
Just checking.
Yeah, it's always worth checking.
Seems like the kind of implement that would have, people dying horrifyingly at the end of it. So just wanted to check if they were like longtime bad guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will stash that in the in my private haven. 'Cause that is bad stuff. The sword, I mean.
Yeah. Not a problem. So, as the eve of the evening before the gathering draws to a close, that is where we're going to wrap up the session for this evening. And obviously, most of next session will be the Hikata gathering and all the sort of stuff associated with that. Obviously, if any of you have any other stuff you want to get up to, we'll try and fit that in as well. If you have any thoughts or stuff you want me to prep for, obviously just like fire a message into the chat we have going, and we'll work out spending XP and stuff like that and doing like humanity checks and whatnot in a few moments. But for now, I'm just going to say thank you to my players and to anyone who's watching this either now or in the future, and hopefully we'll see you for the next session in a couple of weeks.